Hey nail friends, I am long past due on my fill for my nails. I don't know if you guys can see this. And I'm kind of over this shape. I want to go from stiletto to coffin. So I figured I would just do my refill with you guys and you can see my process or work along with me or maybe get some tips and tricks on how to do your acrylic refills. And before we get started, I will just go over some of the things that I'll be using so that you know what I'm doing along the process. So we'll just start out with the basics. I'm going to be using an 80/80 grit nail file to shape my nails. I'll be using a nail buffer to buff out my nails and smooth them out. I will also be using my e-file during this process, along with these e-file bits. Let's see. I'm using a Pana 5-in-1 bit to reduce my product down. I'll be using a duster to remove the dust from my nails, a cuticle ball bit to clean up my cuticles, another smaller cuticle ball to just do some fine cuticle cleaning, and a needle drill bit to also do some nail prep work. As well as I will be prepping my nails before I do my fill, so you'll see that. So just pushing back the cuticles, cleaning that up. And on the acrylic side, I will be using my Glamorous Nude by Valentino because that's what I have on now. Monomer. I'm mixing it with Young Nails monomer. You should probably use Valentino brand monomer with your acrylics. Always use the same brand systems, but I'm out, so I'm gonna make it work. As well as my acrylic nail brush to apply my acrylic. And I will also be using dehydrator and primer. And I think that's everything that I'll be using to do this rebalance, refill, and reshape. So let's just get into some things. I'm just gonna start out by pushing back my cuticles on all of my nails. Just removing that sticky layer from each nail. All right, so I pushed back all of my cuticles. I'm just gonna go in with my nail brush and remove any of that debris from the nail. Now I'm going to take my e-file and I am going to use my needle drill bit. I'm going to use it at an RPM of about 12. My drill shows the RPMs. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that, but hold on. I'll turn her up to a 12. And I'm just going to go along all of that cuticle that still might be stuck on the nail plate and just remove the dust. Kind of getting in between that little pocket. And this drill bit is a diamond drill bit. You only want to use diamond drill bits on your natural nails so that you don't do any damage to your natural nails. kind of hard to get in there because my apex has moved so far, but we're doing the best that we can. You want your drill bits to always be as parallel to your nail bed as possible so that you're not digging and causing any rings of fire. But you just want to move all of that cuticle that's stuck to the nail because that's going to cause lifting. This finger's a little bit thicker, but I'll be able to remove some of that when I go in with that smaller drill bit. And sometimes if you're having a tough time removing that cuticle, you can turn up your drill just a little bit. Give yourself a little bit more power for that tough to remove stuff, you know? So I'm just getting in there, getting all that removed. Hopefully you guys can see all that build up. Just getting cleaned up. All right. So now I'm just going to remove that dust. And I like to go in a downward motion just to kind of bring anything that might be tucked in that pocket out. All right, now I'm going to go in with my smallest drill bit just to get more of that cuticle removed. And I'm going to do that on in between a 10 to 15 range as well. RPMs on my e-file. I'll probably do it at about 11 is what I have it at. And I'm just going to go in there and clean up some more, just smooth things out. And that helps me see what I need to cut on the cuticle as well when I go in with my nippers. You can also use this on the skin, so I'm just going to remove any of that like dead skin that's kind of around the fingernail. Just gently exfoliating it. And excuse my sniffles, I have a little bit of a cold that I'm getting over. But it's giving me time to get to these nails. And I think it's been probably over a month since I've had a fill. I've just been busy. So I'm just cleaning all of that out. I don't know if you guys can see. And this was where that cuticle was a little thick and tough to remove, so that's getting a little bit easier. Cleaned out of there. But this is going to give me a nice clean shape when I go in and do my cuticles, trim that skin. All right, so I'm just going to go in and brush all this off again so you guys can get a clear view of what I'm working with. Now I'm just going to go in with my nippers and just remove this little bit of lifted flap here. You don't want to cut any healthy skin. You just and you can skip this part. Some people don't like clipping the cuticles at all. I'm just kind of lifting it up, lifting out any of that extra debris that might be tucked in there. This is just coming right out, and I'm going to just pull that out. Just clearing out anything that I missed with the brush, with the tip of my nippers. And this is the stuff that's going to make your nails lift. So you want to get rid of all of that extra debris in the nail. Here. So I'm just cleaning all of that out. And actually, before I go in with my nippers, I'm going to take my nail duster. And I'm only going to do this on about a 5 RPM. And go around those cuticles just to clean out any of the extra dust. Some people like to use alcohol. I find that adding extra moisture could cause some lifting problems. So just keep your nails as dry as possible during this process. Also called like a dry manicure. So I'm just cleaning out any of that extra dust. Now I'm going to go in with my nippers and just remove this little bit of dried dead skin that I just want to clean up and have a cleaner manicure. I don't know if you guys can see that. But we're just going to do that on each of the nails as needed. Less is more because you don't want to do any damage to that healthy tissue around your skin. And to learn to clip, to learn to practice clipping cuticles, I practice on a lime. So if you just remove like the green layer of the lime without removing that white pith, is a good way to practice. Just doing straight lines over and over and over again. And just removing that green layer. I'll probably do a video on it to explain to you guys what I mean. But I'm just going straight across, taking little nips as I go. To give me a nice clean cuticle. I'll give you guys a view of that. Now I'm going to go in with my cuticle ball and just exfoliate that skin, smooth everything out. It'll help prevent hangnails. It'll just give you a nice smooth finish. I'm going to do that on in between a 10 and a 15 as well. So I'm just going to go in with my cuticle ball and gently exfoliate that area. Just lightly running it around that cuticle area just to smooth everything out. You can also, again, get any of that dead skin, remove any hangnails that might be hanging around with your cuticle ball. It's very gentle, but just smoothing everything out. I'll give you a nice clean finish. And I'm actually going to turn this up a little bit. I was on a 12. I'm going to go to a 14. Just because I can do this a little bit faster. Now, I'm just going to go in with the brush again and clean up any of that dust on the nail plate. So I can see if I missed anything, if there's anything else I need to get. And here on the pinky, I can kind of see just like a little bit that I missed. So I'm going to grab that. And just a little bit here. A little here. Just want it to look nice and clean. All right, now that's all nice and clean. We are going to move on to cutting the shape from stiletto to coffin, I'm going to reduce my apex because my apex has moved from the cuticle to the 2/3 up the nail, I guess you would say. So I need to bring that base down, bring my apex back, and we'll just go from there. I changed my drill bit to my 5-in-1 Pana. I'm going to use this to change the shape, so let's start with that first. And I'm going to turn my drill up to about in between a 15 and 20. Probably closer to a 20. So I'm just going to hold my drill kind of at an angle and carve into the side of the nail until I can reduce that shape. All right, I don't know if you guys can see that. I hope you can. But I'm going down pretty short because these are kind of long. Like I said, it's been a couple of weeks. I think that's probably about the length I want to go. So we'll just do the rest of these nails. And I'm kind of holding my drill at an angle to the nail. I don't know if you guys can see that. Because I don't want it to drag across. Or skip across, I should say. I want it to kind of just smoothly glide across. And I'm going to go in with my file to get them all the same length, but I kind of want to get them down as much as I can so that I can reduce the amount of hand filing that I have to do. And I'm just kind of lining up the base of my cuticles here to make sure that the length of my nails are similar in length as a guide. All right, I think those are all pretty close in length. I'm gonna go in underneath and reduce some of that bulk just to give me a better shape on the nail. Get that C curve. And I'm just letting the drill carve that out. It's a little bit harder doing this thumb, y'all. But I think that's about the length that I want for all of my nails. And like I said, I'll even them out with a hand file. But now I'm just going to go through and reduce the bulk and the apex, because we're going to move that apex down when we refill the nail. So I'm just going to turn up my drill to about a 25, just because speed will help in that process. But you can use a 20, whatever you're comfortable with. You can crank up your speeds when you're more comfortable with using your e-file. And always practice on yourself so that you can get a feel of how everything will be for your client. So I'm just removing that apex down, removing the bulk of these nails. I want to keep the shape as best as possible. So I just run it from side to side. I can look down the shaft of the nail and see how much bulk there is where I need to reduce it to help with that shape. I'm just gonna bring that down. And this is the point too where if there was any lifting, I would also be removing any lifting. I have minimal lifting. I think I have some lifting on the thumb. So I will probably show you guys how I remove that. But here you can see there's nothing flaking off at the cuticle. It might be hard to see because now there's a lot of dust, but here, let me remove some of this dust so you guys can see what is going on. So these nails are getting flatter, as you can see. They don't have the apex that this one has here. The apex has moved here. So we're just getting them flat so we can get in a new apex. Now let me finish these other nails. I'm still not seeing much lifting. So we're just reducing that apex. And it's a very light pressure. You're letting your drill do all the work for you. If you feel like you have to dig into the nail to remove the product, you probably need to turn up your speed. If you feel like your drill is like skipping across the nail, it may be time for new drill bits, because maybe yours are getting dulled out. But you should be able to just gently glide your nail file along the nail, and it should do all of the work for you. I'm still looking for some lifting. But like I said, I think most of my lifting this set is on my thumb. Look down the shaft, reduce any bulk there. And it's a lot easier to tell when you're using clear acrylic if you're having some lifting, because you can see it. Here's just a little bit. And you want to remove all of your lifting because you don't want to get any greenies. And that's usually caused when you have lifting, you do a full set or refill, and water gets trapped in that lifted area. And then it causes your nails to turn green. Not a huge deal, but easily preventable. And prevention is key, y'all. So I'm just going to remove all of this. Bring this bulk down. Bring this apex down. Here's where I had lifting on my thumb. I don't know if you can tell, but the color of the acrylic is slightly lighter than the rest. Here, let me remove some of this dust. And I've been getting like little hairs and stuff trapped in there. You can kind of see it there a little bit. So I'm just gonna go above that area, around it, and just kind of thin it out so that I can just kind of flick it right off. But I still want to reduce some of this apex here. And then I'm just going to come back over here right above where the lifting is, keeping my drill flat to the nail bed. And there it is. And see, she just flicked right off. Let me clean this just to make sure I got rid of all of it. I feel like there's a little bit more. All right, and that looks like I've gotten rid of all of the lifting. I'm just gonna smooth the rest of this out here. I'm gonna dust everything off so you guys can see what we're working with. So I removed the lifting on the inside of that thumb. Filed everything down with the nail brush one more time to get rid of any dust that may be left, because we're keeping this all dry. We're not going in with any alcohol to clean anything. We're just keeping this all as dry as possible for better adhesion. All right, so now that we're all dried out, I'm going to go in with dehydrator on the natural nail and just give a nice little swipe to any natural nail that's exposed. I'm gonna go in with primer. This is gonna help with adhesion, and just applying that to the natural nail as well. Gonna get our acrylic ready. All right. So I'm just gonna swirl my brush around in here a bit. Real hydrated. I'm gonna drag my brush along the side of the glass one time, go into my acrylic and bounce my brush. Grab my bead, wait a couple of seconds. Now I'm just gonna place my bead at my apex, and I'm gonna push that acrylic back towards the cuticle. And just pat it. Hold your finger down, let gravity work your bead for you. And then I'm just gonna drag everything down with a light patting motion to refill that nail. All right, so we've laid that acrylic, and I'm just gonna go through each nail and do the same thing. Drag my brush once against the side, pat it about twice to get my acrylic bead. I'm gonna wait a couple of seconds, 1, 2, 3, place my bead right kind of where my old acrylic is. And then I'm just gonna pat that bead around into the acrylic to fill in that gap. Hold the finger down, let gravity pull everything in, and then I'm just gonna kind of pat everything down. Not pushing too hard. Just letting gravity kind of work that bead for me and smoothing things out. Cleaning up those sides. And smoothing that out. I'll let you see that from the side as well. Bounce twice. And this depends on how much you need to fill. Like I said, it's been a couple of weeks for me, so I need a little bit of a bigger bead just to kind of help with fewer beads. I'm just gonna bring it down, pat everything into place. And I'm not really pushing, I'm just kind of like laying my brush and dragging it. It's very gentle. Just kind of patting everything in. Alrighty, I've got my door open, so if you hear a bunch of barking in the background, it's coming from outside. It's a nice day today. So now I'm just patting everything in, bringing it all into shape, keeping that apex where I want it. I'm just getting everything into that shape so I don't have to do as much filing at the end. I'm going to need a little bit of a bigger bead for the thumb just because I had some missing and my thumb's a little bit wider anyways. So I'm going to take that bead and pat it into place. Let gravity kind of drag it down, tuck in those sides. I'm just kind of bringing everything down where I want it to be. Clean up those sides there. Just bring it all in. This one's looking a little wonky, but all of that will be fixed when we go in to file it. I'm just waiting for my acrylic to set, so I'm going to clean out my nail brush. I'm just swishing it around in my monomer. Make sure there's nothing sticky in there. I'm going to go in one more time. I'm going to swish it around, make sure everything's nice and clean out of there. And then I also like to put cuticle oil on my brush just to keep the bristles safe and hydrated. In between my sets. I'm not doing any more sets today, so I'll be putting my brush away. So I'm adding the cuticle oil. Gonna shape her back to shape, and then I'm just going to put a cap on it. And she's ready to store. All right, let's check if my acrylic is hardened. You can tell with a tap. See, this one doesn't have a tap, but the pinky does. And that's a good way to know that your acrylic has set and you're ready to go in and start your filing. and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to start by going in with my hand file 8080 grit, just so I can shape up the sides. And I'm also going to shape the tip of my nails, and then we'll move on from that step. So I'm just going to hold my nail file at a 90-degree angle so I can get nice crispy edges. This is a nail file that I've cut in half just because it's easier and it's a 2-for-1. Because we throw these away after each client. So sometimes I like to chop them in half. But I'm just going in. I'm going to go across just so I know they're even as well. I'm not applying too much pressure because I don't want to create any indentations. So more of the pressure is applied at the tip. And you always want to season your files. Basically, that means go in. I've already seasoned these. You go in with either another file or your pusher, because you don't want to cut your clients. These can be really sharp and they will make you bleed. So make sure you season your nail files. Like I said, this was already seasoned, so. And to shape the top of my nails so that they're nice and square, I'm just gonna place my nail here because it's a little bit easier. I can get that nice crispy shape that I want. I'm going this way too. Now I'm gonna go back in with my 5-in-1 drill bit, and we're just gonna smooth out our top layers. Now that we've got our edges all nice and shaped, we can smooth out the rest of the nail. So I've got my 5-in-1 drill bit. I've got it cranked up to 24 RPMs. And I'm just gonna seal my cuticles by going around the edge of the nail. Making sure there's a nice smooth seal. And then I'm just going to go over the nail from side to side to make sure everything's even. I'm going to look down the nail bed and just make sure that the shape is good for the nail as well. But we want an even surface. So then I'm just gonna roll over it again one more time from side to side, or as many times as possible. You know, you just wanna make sure you get a nice, even, natural looking shape that isn't lumpy and bumpy. And I don't give you guys a side view of that. So you're just gonna do that for every nail. You want to make sure it's nice and even around the cuticle. You're not digging into the natural nail plate at all. You're just smoothing things out. And then I'm gonna go side to side. I'm gonna look down that nail base, remove any lumps and bumps. Go over that one more time. Just where you see any lumps and bumps, you want to smooth everything out. So if you're doing nail art, I mean, when you're running your fingers across your nails, you don't want them to be bumpy. If you're doing nail art, you don't want it to be lumpy and bumpy. So this is all about just getting, and we're going to go in with our buffer just to smooth everything out again, just to get rid of any of those scratches or dents. But you want to get most of your work done with your e-file so it saves you time, saves your wrist. Because time is money, y'all. All right, we're going to smooth this one out here. giving her more of a C shape. It makes it easier to pick up things like the dreaded credit card on the floor or coins. Just give everything a nice, clean, even finish. Make sure everything is blended and balanced. Just bring this in a little bit on this side. Okay, we're gonna remove all this dust. See what we're working with. Getting her together. All right, now I'm going to do some cuticle oil on these nails before we buff them out. It's just gonna help remove any scratches, any of those fine scratches. It's gonna make them super smooth. You won't even need a top coat. If you don't wanna add a top coat, you can just leave them matte. So I'm gonna go on with my buffer block and I'm just going to buff these nails out. All right, I'm going to wash my hands so you guys can really see this finished product. All right, y'all, there is the finished product. From stiletto to coffin, we have ourselves a nice refill. All right, you guys, so we went from stiletto to coffin. How does she look? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more tips and tricks and tutorials. And let me know what you think in the comments.